Ghosts and ghouls and goblins and scary things popping around every corner.
It's a little remix.
In the previous scary episode, I did the grim grinning ghosts, and I wanted to do that again, but then I was like, I'm just gonna sing my own song, and I made it up, and I hope you all liked it.
As long as it came from the heart, I think we all loved it.
Ghosts and ghouls and goblins and things and spooky stuff poking around every corner.
Sing your truth, King.
It's very brave of me. Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. It's the podcast where we overanalyze all the weird, awkward, slamming it in, and uncomfortable micro moments in life. This intro has been a clusterfuck. I'm one of your hosts, Evan Cox.
I'm one of your hosts, Chris Binning.
And hey, today we are talking ghosts and ghouls and goblins and spooky things. I'm going to write a Halloween song, and that's how it starts. We're talking haunted houses, mazes, cornfields. You used a term I don't think I've heard of before, scare zones, and I need to get into what that is.
Sure.
We're talking about all these things today, but before we get spooky, and we're going to get spooky, before we get there, I want to talk to my spookiest friend, the one in the pumpkin shirt.
Yeah.
Chris, how you doing?
Well, first, I'm honored to be your spookiest friend.
I'll have to think about that. You might not be.
I feel like I'm generally not very spooky. So you mentioned before we get spooky that you wanted to talk to me. I regret to inform you there is spooky undertones to the story I'm about to tell.
Damn it.
But it is, it's unfortunately a topical thing, or at least how we'll get into the story is topical and unfortunate. I'm sure that you've heard the passing of One Direction member Liam Payne. That was I was at work the following day, so it happened the night before, and then the following morning I was at work. There was a complicated situation at work, so I had a manager and two supervisors with me, and the TV was on, and it was talking about his passing on the news. And so I'm with one supervisor who's about my age, another supervisor who's maybe 10, 15 years older than me, and then the manager. And the supervisors and I are all dudes. The manager is a woman, and she is maybe 20 years older than me, maybe 15 to 20.
Okay.
And she was like, what songs would I know from One Direction? And, they were a very popular music group. And if you've continued to work in a customer-facing position, like myself and my supervisors have, if you've worked any sort of customer service role in the last 12 to 15 years, you've heard their music.
You know what makes you beautiful.
But the three of us all, I regret to inform you that the three of us all had the masculine urge to not know. To be like, I've never heard of them. I don't know any song. I don't even know what they are. When they said One Direction, I thought, he was. I thought it was a compass. I thought a member of a compass had passed away.
Yeah.
But because I don't want to. Then you can't be like, oh, the song, Best Day Ever, or the song, That's What Makes You Beautiful. You can't just say that, because then it's like, well, how does that song go? And then
now you're there.
It's the best song ever when we danced all night. Like, you can't, there's no good way to to
I don't
do
really
it.
know that one, but I like your rendition.
Yeah, to the best song ever. Evan,
Yeah.
how many One Direction songs do you know, and how you doing?
Boink, boink, boink. I think just the one. I'm sure if I heard that song you're talking about, I know it. And
Yeah,
I would assume, again, working in customer service, I assume I know way more because they were so
sure.
popular right at that time I was working in customer service. So I heard plenty of it. The only one I know absolutely 100% for sure is That's What Makes You Beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't know you're beautiful. Oh,
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 oh.
oh. That's what
That's what
makes
makes
you
you beautiful.
beautiful. Like, that's how I would have performed it for my manager.
I would love to get a full group of just like embarrassed One Direction members, but there's the same amount of people. They're doing the same harmonies. So, like, it works, but there's just embarrassed about it. What would that sound like? Good harmonies,
What
but
would that sound like?
bashful? I think it's a project worth exploring. That's the direction I'm looking in.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Get off my back.
Well, I asked you once and you didn't answer.
I answered your other question, which seemed more pressing at the time. Someone is dead, Chris. We had to talk about One Direction. R.I.P. Liam Payne. I'm doing fine. Mine are, I don't know. At what points do you consider an annoyance going from minor to major? And if it's a major, can you still call it an annoyance? I feel like that's beyond an annoyance. That's just pain in the ass. Long story short, 2 weeks ago, no, last week, 1 week ago, we had a warning that there were going to be high winds in our area. Southern California Edison. Oh, they let us know about it. Now, I just got an email. Jocelyn was getting phone calls, text messages. She collectively got like 10, and the news never changed. Some of these calls, and she showed me, I'm like, I didn't wake up for this, but it's real. They called at 2 in the morning. Then they called at 5 in the morning. They left voicemails both time, neither with new information, just saying, hey, it's really windy and we might have to shut your power off.
Huh.
Fuck off. Don't call us at 2 in the morning when you told us that at like 5 p.m. earlier today.
Automated messaging or
Automated
real human
messaging.
being? Okay.
If it was a real human being, that would be sad. It's maybe the one spot I'm like, I'm glad that's not a real person. Up at 2 a.m. calling everyone one by one.
Hey, just checking in again.
That's the worst job ever. See, I think
And we called all night at the worst job ever.
So that kept her up that night. I slept through it. Sometimes my CPAP machine helps me with that. I'm not hearing stuff as much. But the power did not go out last week. So it was like, you know, you're happy we didn't lose power, didn't have to deal with that. But also, like, I mean, we were ready for it. You really prepared us. So just felt like wasted effort. Last night, power just went out. We have not had this happen. We were told, like, yeah, that happens up here. We've lost power for like 5 seconds. But this was an all-night thing. And it wasn't planned. Some sort of accident occurred. When I looked it up on the website, they're like, it can be weather related, it can be a car accident, it could be this, it could be that. And the last thing on there was metallic balloons. These events have doubled in the last 5 years. I'm like, all right, stop using metallic balloons, people.
Right.
Stick to the old rubbers, whatever balloons are made of.
Call them up. Be like, I just want to have you guys try sticking to the old rubbers.
Stick to the old rubbers. And by that, I mean don't have kids so they don't have birthdays. So we were not ready for that, but ready enough, having prepared before. And our landlord's got us a very nice generator. I had that prepared and ready to go. I'm no expert on this stuff, but I've read that manual backwards and forwards a bunch of times. I looked up, so I'm absolutely positive when the power goes out, I know how to do this. And so there's I'll keep this brief. I've already talked too much. But there's your, see, this is how good I am at this. The box. Surge.
Flip, fuse box?
Flip, fuse box. So you got your fuse box. There's a little plug where you plug the generator in. And in between those is a panel that has 6 switches, I think, on it.
Okay.
I forget it. Maybe I mentioned this before, but so that's the part when I looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's easy. It's currently switched to line, meaning we're on the grid. You can switch it to off. That'll shut everything down. And then you can switch it up to generator. Now it's running through the generator. Makes perfect sense. These are listed A, B, C, D, E, and F. The 6 switches. On the fuse box, they've written stuff next to it. The stuff makes no sense. And they're listed by number.
Yeah.
And those numbers go to 8. So I'm like, I just figured, when the time comes, I don't want to be popping on the generator, fucking around with stuff while the power's not out. Now I feel a little more confident. I understand how it works. I feel like I could do that. But I'm just, we talked about it in the electricity episode. I don't want to fuck with house electricity. That shit's scary. Yeah. But so I figured it would be so simple, flip on A, and it's oh, great, that turned on the kitchen. Flip on B. Oh, that turned on the bathroom. Great. Go, turn off the ones we don't need. Now, I flipped on A. Turns on the outlets in the kitchen and the bedroom. Flipped on B. It turns on the overheads in the kitchen and the bedroom. Then as far as I could tell, it was that was it. A and B turned everything on except one wall. None of the other switches seem to do anything. And that one wall is the wall that needs, because that's where cable is, needs to power our internet and to get our furnace going. So the things you might want if, say, we were snowed in and lost power. Heat, the internet, these things come up. Long story short, I say again, after telling a long story, it's annoying. Why? Who did this? Why is this house wired so weird?
I don't have the answers, unfortunately.
Someone better give me answers. Yeah, so I think we're going to have an electrician over to poke around and shit, and that sucks.
Yeah, call them over, and then when they get there, just be like, what is this? Can you explain this? Did you do this?
Did you do this? That is the tough thing, and we got to move on and talk about haunted stuff. But, it is such a small community. It was the same when we were getting the internet hooked up. It's oh, yeah, you're the same person that set this up in the first place. There's kind of just one or two contractors for every thing you could need. So, yeah, that's the pain in the ass I'm dealing with. But I feel like a near expert. I could be an electrician myself now.
Well, I find that shocking. I couldn't even look into the webcam to deliver that. I had to just stare into space in shame as the words fell out of my mouth.
Well, for your own safety, so we don't want you getting shocked either. Are you ready to sign the waiver to enter the episode?
I am.
Have you had to do that? I've only been to one and it wasn't like an extreme haunted house or anything, but they're just like, no, this is really scary. You have to sign a waiver. Have you had to sign your life away to go into a spooky event?
I don't know, actually. I feel like maybe it's just in the fine print. Yeah. Maybe you have to check a box when you buy the tickets online or something. But I don't think I've had to sign a waiver.
You have to sign
this year, I went to both Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights and Knott's Berry Farm, Knott's Scary Farm.
Still like the name. Sounds like it's not scary.
I don't think we had to sign waivers for either park, but I would imagine that there was still like a box you have to check that's like, checking this box and purchasing these tickets mean that this is supposed to be a little bit spooky.
Yeah, because I've never done Universal Horror Nights, whatever it's called, Hollywood Horror Nights,
Halloween Horror Nights, my dear boy.
I was so close. I told you I've never been. I'm an amateur, but I have. Total me style. The only time I've ever been to Knott's Berry Farm was for work. So I was behind the scenes. I met the actors that do the spooking and then walked around filming some stuff. But like, if I didn't have that behind the scenes, it's like, you're scared by a scary movie and you want to watch the behind the scenes footage to go like, okay, it's not real. I had that like invincibility of like, this ain't real, but it seemed scary as hell, and like it could give someone a heart attack.
I do. I think that Knott's has the longest running like Halloween event.
That makes sense.
But I do think that Universal has the most popular one. At least, obviously in the Southern California theme park realm. I think that both of them are more popular. I've never been to Six Flags Fright Fest, but I believe that's the least popular of the three.
I haven't either. That's probably just because you gotta travel. I guess Knott's Berry Farm's pretty out of the way too, isn't it? Next it's right next to Six Flags.
They in fact are not right next to each other, Evan.
What am I thinking?
They're in fact as far away as can be. I think you're thinking Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm are next to each other.
Probably.
But Knott's Berry Farm and Six Flags Magic Mountain are perhaps an hour and a half to 2 hours away from each other.
All right. You go. But I'm looking this up. If there's a 5% chance I could be right.
I promise
Talking to the guy who was
not
just
next
there.
to each other. I've been to all of these parks more than once, and not just for a one work event one time.
They might be pretty close.
I have been to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios 3 or 4 times now, but this was my first time.
Hour and a half. All right, that's
nothing. Okay. So that sounds exactly like I'm correct when I said they're an hour and a half to 2 hours away from each other.
Well, that too was overshooting it quite a bit.
There was a range.
It does look very close to Disneyland, though.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Go on.
This is my first time going to Knott's Scary Farm, and I think it was the better of the two events. But I think it depends on what you like to get out of a haunted house experience. We did a haunted house draft 2 years ago with Zach and Kaylee. But I find myself, I mentioned this a while ago on the podcast too, like I've gotten very into like theme park design for some reason.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
So I'm very fascinated, like going into these haunted houses and like, I'm not here to be scared. I'm here to admire your craftsmanship.
No,
Like,
no, no.
like to me, everybody else is like, going around like, oh no, don't jump out at me. And I'm like on an episode of House Hunters, like, oh, very impressive overlay up here.
All right. I like that. Do you feel, though, like, in spite of not wanting to, do you get scared? Someone jumps out at you?
I can, but it's rare. And this is the key.
Interesting.
If you are a man going through a haunted house with a woman, the scare performers are always going to target the woman.
It's true.
And if you're a little fraidy cat like me, that's the best. Because you get to experience it, but they don't give a shit about me.
Yeah.
And so I can just be like, oh, what a clever place for you to have popped out from.
I have a similar a situation of being a man. But also, no, I have
this is one of those hashtag all men, yes?
I was similar to that when Jocelyn and I, because we've done 2 or 3. I guess one was an event, less of a scary thing, but we've done 2. I'd call them haunted mazes. One haunted maze, one haunted house. Okay, they're both mazes. Fuck it. 2 haunted mazes.
Super indecisive today with your stories.
I can't. I need something. Probably food. But I have, in spite of my ocular issues, I have very good night vision. Less when driving. The headlight, like in the night when then like a car is coming by, that fucks with my head in a different way.
Well, almost every car, it seems like, has their brights on all the time.
It's fucking awful. It kills me. And you've done the drive up here, the windy mountain. Yeah. So doing that at night, everyone's got their brights on. It sucks. Anyways. So in a haunted house, haunted maze sort of situation, I always find I'm able to see the people like before they're ready to be seen. Or if they're doing 9 times out of 10, and I hate this. This is a new thing, I feel like, and I don't like it. But there'll be just like a person standing there, like frozen, creepily.
Yes.
And then you're walking up to them and they're still just there. And as soon as you're right next to them, they scream in your ear.
I don't like the screaming part, but my favorite scare in haunted houses is when you think maybe somebody's a prop, like they have a bunch of like mannequins and one person's real but also frozen and then they jump out at you. That's my favorite. But I would not enjoy it, the screaming in my ear.
No, that one I'm talking about was at Sky Park where we went, Santa's Village, of course. Before we lived up here, we came up here and they do a haunted thing every year. And we did it. And someone screamed in my ear. But more confusingly, and then I'll let you talk, part of it was closed. So there's like one path and it winds. You've walked around the area. The area that they're using for the haunted house, there's just like one path. You can go in this way or go in this way. And when you're walking up towards it, this one over here comes up first. And it's covered in caution tape.
Spooky. Okay.
Right? This is the problem. You can't make caution tape look real in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Like, you guys just see caution tape. And so us and like 10 other people were all standing outside the caution tape going like, so is this where it starts? Are we supposed to go past? Because there's like a gate. You could still keep walking that way. It took an employee coming up to tell us like, no, it's roped off, you idiot. Go around. The entrance is up here. But I'm like, you got to put a sign up. Like anything that says keep out, caution. How am I supposed to know the difference?
Yeah, it is interesting when there's like a real thing in like a haunted
Yes.
house situation, because this year at Knott's Scary Farm, we were in a maze or a haunted
Amazing.
house called
Who's
like Cinema
indecisive now?
Slasher or something. And so it's like a movie theater, and
Ooh,
then there's, things jumping out at you.
fun.
There was somebody in like a giant popcorn costume with a knife. Great, love it. Um,
That's awesome.
but as you like start, especially, I don't know if Sky Park had this, but at both Knott's and Universal, they have people in hoods with like wands at different corners, kind of like waving people through, like go this way, so you don't
Oh
get
no,
like lost in there,
that's smart.
and keeps the flow moving.
Yeah.
Um, but we were in a section of this maze, and we're right by one of the people with the wands, and then there's like a scare actor on the other side of them, and you walk in between them basically. And the uh usher, I guess we'll call them, with the wand, to the scare actor, puts up their hand like the number 5,
Okay.
and the scare actor checks their watch as if to say they're going on break in 5, like they have to go on break in 5 minutes. And it was such a like pulled us out of the experience a little bit.
Yeah.
So be like, oh, get your union breaks, my guy.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, anytime you like, oh, something scary happens, but then it's like something does break that, and you just see the person behind all the makeup. It's goofy shit. It's goofy shit that we're doing, but
Yeah.
it's very fun. I think. I don't know. I am a person. I get scared. These things do scare me. I tend to laugh through fear, though. So I go, ah, and then I'm just laughing the whole time, which I think is a good thing.
My instinct is to, after, if a scare performer gets me, my instinct is to compliment them. To be like, oh, very good, good job, or you got me.
Got
Like,
me.
I want them to know that they're doing a good job.
Oh, we had a kind of funny break of character. I'll have to talk to her afterwards. I don't know if she wants me to tell this or not. But so there was this. I forget where. We were out of town for some reason in October, and we're coming back like the day of Halloween or the day before Halloween. We agreed to do something with a couple of friends of hers. I don't even know what to call it. It was they called it a haunted soiree. So it's one of
Okay.
these Halloween parties in downtown LA. You pay money, you get in, everyone's in costume. There are actors everywhere that are like, there's like a ghost woman, and you can like sit and talk with her and try to get her backstory, shit like that, almost like dinner theater. But then
Okay.
there's also a room where there's a spooky band playing the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Another room where fortunes are being told. And then there's also a haunted maze on the bottom floor. And this
Okay.
is the one I had to sign a waiver for. And so that in and of itself, I think you're going to need that waiver anyways, whether it is snuck into the ticket.
Yeah.
I found it so much scarier to sign it before walking in. And I recommend everyone does that, because that puts you in a fucking mood of like,
Sure.
oh dear God, what's about to happen? So we start going. There's some strobe lighting going on, which is common. I don't love that. I
Yeah, me
understand the
neither.
idea. It is spooky because you see a person standing there and then it blinks and they're closer. That is freaky stuff. But it also gives me a headache, just like screaming in my ear. How about a quiet, like, there's silent discos. What about just a quiet haunted house? That can be
They at
terrifying.
Universal this year they had a Quiet Place themed
Ooh, interesting.
maze, and
Yeah.
it was maybe the loudest one out of the 10. It was,
You got the real life experience of what the start of A Quiet Place would be like, which is everyone being way too fucking loud and
yes.
dying.
And I have more to say about that
Okay.
maze later, but yeah, go ahead.
I'll wrap this up real quick because the whole experience was real quick. So we got it in there. There was like one person pops out in the strobes. That's scary. It scared us both. I'm laughing. She's getting a little unnerved. But then we get to this long hallway, and it is a maze. Sometimes they say like haunted maze, and it's just like, nah, like you're saying, like, no, it's a
a path.
walkthrough.
Yeah.
We're pointing where to go.
Yeah.
This is like you can get lost, and you can be stuck in there with the spookies, and that is terrifying. So this is another case of with my night vision, I saw a spooky at the far end, and I go, just because I saw them there and in the strobe, they looked scary as hell. She did not see them. And so, I screamed, and she's going like, where is it? Where are they? And the strobe light's going, and it starts getting closer to us, and like, it's like big monster thing. As it was getting closer, Jocelyn just yells out, "Where's the exit?" and the monster drops his arms and just points over there. And there's a little exit. And then we're like, "Thank you." It's like, "Okay, bye." It was just very funny to me. But I get it. You get in that and you have that panic reaction. You're just like, oh no, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, like, I don't know, I'm being spooked and I'm having a good time, and like, oh no, the intention, I signed a waiver because the intention is to give me a heart attack.
Yeah.
So that made me laugh. That's my waiver experience.
I at Universal they have, like they have the Quiet Place. They have different IP themed houses, and then they'll do original ones also.
Spooky stuff like Ghostbusters.
Yes. So the
Frozen Empire.
That's right, Evan. And I'm glad you bring that one up because it ties into the Quiet Place one and what I want to talk about, which is when they build these mazes or houses or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
They will follow the plot loosely of the movies.
Okay.
But that doesn't, like, not every scene of the movies is scary.
Right.
So sometimes the people jumping out and scaring you are the good guys in the movie. And I hate this. This is such a nitpicky thing, but I don't like this at all. The Ghostbusters one, the first room, you walk in, there's somebody doing like a Dan Aykroyd, not impression because it's pre-recorded and they just like mouth along to it.
Got it.
The Universal ones, it's always like pre-recorded sound, pre-recorded screams, pre-recorded like jump scare effects with the strobe lighting and everything. And then at Knott's, it felt like it was a little bit of that, but sometimes also like there was, not to, be all over the place with this story, but there was a maze based on a series of books, I think, called the Grimoire.
Okay. I believe.
But basically we're a bunch of kids at camp, like, I think resurrect a demon or something. I don't really know what the premise is, but one of the like campers like comes up to you in the maze and is like, "Have you seen my friends?" And then, but like, it was so disorienting to me to not respond to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, man. But anyway, in the Ghostbusters one, there's somebody doing a pre-recorded lip sync to Dan Aykroyd, or a Dan Aykroyd sound alike, I should say, because It's not Dan Aykroyd's voice.
Lip sync battle.
And then, the kid who plays the character Podcast in these new Ghostbusters movies
There's a
jumps
character
out to
named
scare
Podcast?
you. Yes, he's named Podcast. These new movies are not great, Evan.
It makes me want to cry.
Yeah, but so then he's the one that scares you. And in A Quiet Place, sometimes it's, the Emily Blunt stand-in scares you. It's like,
that sucks.
No.
Not okay.
Yeah. It's also because these events are so popular. I don't know what the Haunted Soiree or the Sky Park things that you've been to were like, but because these are such popular events, there's really it truly is like everybody is walking in essentially a single file line through the path, and there's not really oh, I saw you scare this person 6 people ahead of me, so I'm ready for you,
Right.
I understand that you have to move people through because it is so popular. The waits are often so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, we bought the express pass at both parks so that we could skip to the front. And it was a lot of money, but when you see everybody else standing there for 3 hours or an hour and a half or whatever, you're like, you know what? It was kind of worth it.
Peasants.
Exactly. I think that if I own a house in the future, I want to be a house in the neighborhood that creates a haunted house for Halloween for trick-or-treaters.
Yes. That sounds so fun.
Did your neighborhood have one?
Yeah, because we made it. It was the shed in our backyard.
Oh.
That's right. I've made a haunted house when I was 6. I had a little Frankenstein toy where you could take the top of his head off, and we filled that with spaghetti.
Nice.
I made something like eyeballs, all the classics. Not very scary.
Sure.
But my parents loved it. Otherwise, no. We had someone in the neighborhood who not adamantly, just was an avid decorator, so loved going all out with Halloween and Christmas decorations. But no, nobody took on haunted house duties, which should be a part of every HOA.
I agree. The Halloween Owners Association. There was a house in our neighborhood for they only did this. I don't know if they moved or if they just stopped doing it, but for 2 years, where they had a haunted house, and my friends and I went through one year, and I very distinctly remember going through. I think there were 4 of us. We were maybe 8 to 10 years old, maybe between 8 and 12. Yeah. And we were making our way downtown, walking fast because we were scared. And we're going through this maze, and I distinctly remember a scene where there was a doctor with a chainsaw or something like that.
Yeah.
Operating on a patient, and we're like, oh no, try to go to the next room. But there was some sort of stop that we made. I was at the back of the group, so I don't know why we stopped. If there was a worker being like, all right, we got to wait a second till the next room is ready or whatever. But I feel a little tip tap on my shoulder.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, I know that I'm at the back of the group. So I know if I turn around, this is the doctor with the chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
But Evan,
yeah,
I decided I'm just not going to turn around. So I just faced forward. Not going to get me. And, we were recounting at the end of Halloween night. We all met back up with our parents. We were recounting the event, and I remember telling them, somebody tapped my shoulder and I reckon it was the doctor with the chainsaw. And something horrifying happened, Evan. My parents and my friend's parents all laughed at me for using the word reckon. And I go, yeah, you reckon?
Oh, you reckon?
Oh, you reckon that's what happened?
It is funny. I feel like we've talked about this before. Like, that has also slipped into my vocabulary where I'm just perfectly comfortably saying, I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah, I think that since then I've since the public humiliation I abandoned it from my vocabulary, but I caught myself doing like an unironic like Larry the Cable Guy style of speaking the other day where I was talking to a coworker about something and I ended it with I tell you what. And I didn't like that. I don't know where that came from, but I did not like that.
These things sneak in. The ghosts of Southerners sneak in. And you either embrace it or realize, like, I shouldn't talk like that. And I got that lesson when I was a teenager, and out of nowhere, we were on a vacation, and I called my sister Honey like a Southern belle. Like, Honey? Don't. And found out real fast, like, well, that's not how I should talk. But don't worry, I was filming at the time, so I have a forever record of it.
Oh, you dropped some of your stand-up into
I did.
our stand-up episode. If you have that footage of
Man,
you saying honey, you may need to drop that into this episode.
It's on a mini DV tape. I know I transferred it. I don't know where it is. My parents might have it. I'll look around.
Right. Okay.
But I also have a funny photo from Haunted House, and I love this. I've talked about this experience in the past, so I won't spend too much time on it. But my first ever trip to Las Vegas for my friend Anthony's birthday, we went to the now defunct Eli Roth's haunted house.
Okay.
I forget what it was called all of a sudden. Eli Roth's, I keep wanting to call it Grindhouse, something along those lines of slaughter, hostile town.
Yeah, like House of Horrors or something like that.
This is something. I feel I hate. I'm going to tell the story while I look it up. So I can't multitask. I thought I could, and I'm wrong. He has a new one. Trick VR Treat.
That sucks.
It really does suck. Haunted House, Vegas. Goretorium.
All right, Goretorium's not a bad name. I wouldn't want to go in there, but that's not a bad name.
Exactly. Eli Roth's Goretorium. Now, this has brought me to an article, 6 Scary Obvious Reasons Goretorium Kicked the Bucket. And I want to read through this. He spent $10 million on it. That doesn't help. I shat my pants. Shirt? I don't know. Nothing good here. Anyways, it was a pretty solid experience. It was definitely scary. But yeah, I had... So 2 things. You reminded me of this because I was taking up the tail of our line because it was kind of a single file thing. They did a good job where there weren't so many people at a time. Like they'd send a group in, make the next people wait like 5 or 10 minutes even. Just like
that's basically what they did at the neighborhood haunted house too.
Yeah,
it was a stop and go kind of deal.
Let these people have their experience without everyone else around them. Probably why part of the reason they went out of business. Not enough people going through it at the same time. So you go through all of it. It's kind of what you would expect. Gory, but genuinely scary at times. But then the very end of it is like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, a butthole. Is maybe the best I
Okay.
can use. It wasn't supposed to be that, but it's like a bunch of fabric closed in the middle, so you have to go through it.
Okay.
And it's literally like you're being birthed out of the haunted house. But so you're in a situation, it's like you can't see what's in front of you.
Okay.
You're just going to blindly go into this thing, and it's like curtains this close, so you're unable to see what's going on in front of you. And I'm taking up the end here, and it was just my friend Mike and Anthony ahead of me. And they go, and each one, it's like we all looked at it. It's just like, I don't want to do this, but there doesn't seem to be another way to exit. And one by one, it's like they go in, they scream, and then you never hear from them again. And then Anthony goes, and he screams. And then it's just me by myself. And I'm like, I know something really fucking scary just happened. These are the worst. I should never take up the tail end. These are the bad moments for me. I'm confident in a group setting. As soon as it's just me by myself and I'm like, well, I'm about to get the shit scared out of me. Here I go. Bad. But I thought that was a very smart way to end it. Birth yourself out of the Goretorium. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, though, is they had the photo op afterwards, like an escape room or whatever, where you pose with a thing and you get your picture taken. I survived the Goretorium.
Yeah.
And so it's this old haunted looking bellhop cart.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain that it was haunted looking. It just looked like Tower of Terror style,
sure.
Twilight Zone looking thing. And so you just kind of put your arm on it. They got the camera person there. It's just like, all right, yeah, everyone pose around it. Great. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And then right before he clicks the thing, air shoots out, so it like launches coats and stuff into your face and scares the shit out of you as the picture's being taken. So I've got great photos of all of us just like and if I can find those, I will share those. But
that's a cool way to do that.
It was smart. It was a good time. I would recommend it if it didn't go out of business.
Yeah. When you were walking around filming behind the scenes stuff for Knott's Scary Farm, did you talk to any of the actors?
I did.
Like, hey, what is a day in the life like for a little haunted clown like yourself?
Yeah, that is what I was talking with them about, because I found it A, fascinating, B,
sure,
admirable. Like I wanted to do it after talking to them. And these are all like friends of ours. These are just people who are improvisers and actors, and this is seasonal work for them. We have actor friends that do like dinner theater around Halloween time. This is just one of those gigs, but it seems to be like the same group of actors unless you leave or something, or you assault someone. Like it's the same group of people every year, and it's a good gig and fun as hell. And so I was like, fuck, I would love to just like shoot with these people more, but my job was to shoot the radio hosts getting their makeup done, which was still cool to watch. The makeup that's Not Scary Farm is impressive.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to explain it other than to me it looked like a blast. The radio hosts got the opportunity to get made up in spooky ways and then go out and be scary people. And they did, but for the most part, I feel like they didn't put their all into it. And I was getting real jealous walking around with my camera. Because there's, I don't know if they still do this at Knott's Scary Farm, but they got these fucking guys that put elbow pads and knee pads on that are made of metal.
Oh, so they spark when they slide around?
They slide at you and sparks come out. I'm like, what the hell? I want to be that little gremlin fella.
I didn't see. I've seen videos of that. I
It's
think
scary.
maybe they still do it at Six Flags, but I didn't see it this
Okay.
year at Knott's. But I will say that you asked what is a scare zone earlier,
Yes.
and this is basically what it is when you're in a certain section of the park
Hmm.
that where they just have free roaming people that can come after you. That's a
Right.
scare
Right. Right.
zone. So they have the
Got
the
it.
haunted houses, and then there are a couple spots in the park that are scare zones. So this year they had some like clowns on the boardwalk, and they had like 1920s ghosts or something like that in another section of the park. At Universal, it would have been maybe a little cooler if they had more, but they had people on stilts on these like giant crow costumes. Anytime scare actors on stilts, that's
I love
my
stilts.
shit. That's my sparking metal pads is people on
Yeah,
stilts.
it rules.
Yeah.
I've said
Um,
it in a previous episode that that's my dream Halloween costume. And I don't normally dress up for Halloween, but if I can ever get it figured out where I can be on stilts and have a massive, oversized purple wizard's robe and a beard, and just be like an 8 foot tall wizard, that would be so much fun.
um, my brother also has been a scare actor.
Really?
Yes. So
Interesting.
in when he was in college in Illinois, um, for 1 or maybe 2 years, he was a scare actor at some like I couldn't find the name of it. I asked him for some thoughts though on his
Yeah.
experience and what it was like. Um, it was essentially like a haunted house that you go through, and then after you get out of the house, then you have to go down a haunted trail to the like real exit. And so there's also
Okay.
people like in the woods or whatever that can come after you
Ugh,
in the
I
woods.
hate that. That's my real. We had an episode about fears. That's my fear zone. Is just like being in the woods in the dark,
Yeah.
and things being there. I don't. That's not fun. Fuck off.
So my brother, I think I've mentioned this before, but my brother uses a wheelchair, and he
Yes.
was there on a like wheelchair sports scholarship.
Yeah.
And so he says that he was recruited by the owner of the the haunted house, whose name was apparently Big Mike. And Big Mike found my brother and his two friends at the Champagne for Champaign, Illinois, the Champagne Sweet Corn Festival.
Hell yeah.
And so Big Mike came up to them, recruited them to be actors.
That's awesome.
He says that there were like 5 or 6 makeup artists that would do everyone's makeup. And if you were in the house, you were in like zombie makeup. And if you were on the trail, you were in like evil clown makeup.
Got it.
And so my brother says that he did both, where he was
That's
sometimes in the
awesome.
house and sometimes in on the trail. But
Get you
instead of
someone who can do both.
exactly, he was rarely ever in his chair though. So he was on the ground under a table in the house, and he would reach out at you from under the table,
Oh,
and
that's
then he'd
fun.
be able to crawl out after you when you're trying to leave.
That's awesome.
And then similarly on the trail, he would come crawling out from the trees and chase you. And then I guess they had it set up where like he would come after you from the trees, you start running. His other friend, also like normally in a chair but now crawling, comes
Yeah.
at you from another section of the trees to divert you towards these two big dudes with chainsaws, and then you get all sorts of freaked out.
That sounds fun.
Sometimes they wouldn't be able to reset into those original positions, so they'd have to do something else. And he said that sometimes he would, pretend to be frozen and then jump out at somebody, and he was kind of like, yeah, sometimes it worked, sometimes it
Yeah.
didn't. They would give him props sometimes. Sometimes he had like a prop sickle, and then he
Propsicle.
also a propsicle. And of course, sometimes it was brown, so it was a fudge sickle. And sometimes he had a Nerf gun that he would be allowed to shoot at people
Ooh,
with. But
awesome.
he said that one person didn't like getting shot at and came after him. So
Oh, no.
cool.
I've always heard that as the big threat of being an actor in these things.
Yes.
Is like some people's fear reaction is to start swinging.
I would also think that there's the reaction to start swinging, and then I think you mentioned there's like, oh, the haunted ghost lady at the soiree that you
Yeah.
could sit down and talk to.
Mhm.
How many people are trying to pick her up? You know what I mean? Like
question.
how many people are into goth ghost ladies? I'm gonna
That's
say
true.
a lot.
That seems possible. I didn't think of that.
He also said that they gained popularity pretty quickly. By the end they were voted to be in the top 3 haunted houses in Illinois. He said he can't remember if they were number 1 or just in the top 3.
That's awesome.
But they had Machine Gun Kelly came by, and some old Chicago Bears players came by, and he says that some of them participated as actors. I don't know if
All right.
like the football players did or if Machine Gun Kelly did or both. But he said that they had a lot of customers cry, pee their pants, or pass out.
I think it would make me happier than anything, because that sounds like a genuinely scary haunted house.
Yes.
But if at some point you're having the shit scared out of you, your brother comes out and diverts me down this way, instead of two big guys with chainsaws, it's the old 80s Chicago Bears defensemen singing the Super Bowl shuffle.
Oh no!
That'd be awesome. That's a dream.
Duh, Bears.
Having met your brother, I can't imagine him doing this.
Me neither.
And I love that so much.
Yeah.
That this is a part of his history.
I mean I've seen photos of him in the makeup.
It's so fun.
But I also kind of struggle to like imagine him doing that.
College, bro.
I know. You're desperate for cash.
We're running long. I just said
Yes.
I have 2 important things to say. One, I'll just say quick. I talked previously about being at the Sky Park haunted thing, and we ended up meeting these 2 little boys because we were in line for a train going around the cornfield, and we were just like talking to them because they were super nice and funny, and they weren't able to. They were too young to get on without supervisors, so we let them get on with us, and we were chatting with them a bunch, and at a certain point when we were in line talking to them, they were like, oh no, turn away, he's right there, oh, and we're like, what the fuck? Because there was like a security guy walking around. We're like, what happened? And they said we got caught because we started hiding in the bushes and scaring people along the trail. And a security guard got mad at us and told us we had to leave. It just made me laugh. I'm like, every now and then kids are really funny to me. And the thought of just being regular kids and just jumping in the woods and being like, we're gonna scare some people too, fuck it, that makes me laugh. And then hiding from the security guard. The other thing, which this could be fair, quick, I found the photo. I forgot it's on my Facebook.
Oh.
And looking back at it, you could tell everyone else has been like startled, but they're laughing. I'm the only one that looks like I shit my pants. So we'll share this.
I mean, to be fair, like, you are the closest to the coast.
I was hit.
Yeah. So in that,
it was terrifying.
I do like, I can understand why you were put into that situation of being the most scared.
Look at the veins in my hand.
Yeah.
Clutching myself so tightly. It scared the shit out of me. R.I.P. Eli Roth's Goretorium.
Yeah. I know we got to wrap up here. I do want to say that of the two theme parks that I went to, I do think that Knott's had the stronger experience, but a real delight of the Universal Halloween Horror Nights is going on. They turned the studio tour into the Terror Tram, where they just kind of let you loose into like part of not really the back lot, but controlled areas that they can put you through and just have like people from The Purge come up to you and they try to get you. This year it was all the Blumhouse movies, so they had somebody doing the Megan dance right there in front of you. But one year we went like as soon as it was open, so it's still daylight out, and we're on the Terror Tram. They're taking us down in the little tram, getting ready to drop us off. And they're like, oh, something pretty spooky's happening. There's this old clown who used to terrorize the back lot or whatever. But because it's light out, we can see him like 800 feet away.
Yeah.
So
it's like the Monty Python.
It's so
running at the screen.
I love it. It was so funny to me.
That's hilarious.
We do have to wrap up, though.
We do, but I have one more thing I have to say.
No.
This is important because I felt very let down by one of these things once because it sounded like the coolest thing ever. And I understand why you couldn't do this, but it sucks that you advertised it that way. It was a haunted corn maze, or just like whatever, not a maze, but there was corn there.
Okay.
There were zombies, and we all got paintball guns.
Okay.
This sounds like the most fun time ever.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever wanted to be in a haunted house and have a gun? Mow down some zombies.
Yeah. I am starting to understand why you can't do this, but go ahead.
Exactly. All the zombies had like armor on.
Sure.
So they were fine. But as soon as we got there and we signed everything, we paid for it, we got on, and it was like a trailer being trailered behind a truck. So you're just on a path, and guys are just like walking out of the corn, and you have fixed paintball guns where you just like push a button and it just goes and it's like they're not reacting to it, they're just still walking. Big letdown, I thought.
Yeah
Not what I was looking for.
I mean, yeah, I definitely understand why you can't do the version of that we all want, but that's still,
I'll do it.
It's a letdown to tease it and then not offer it.
Yeah, I'll make this happen. Because people are wearing masks and costumes anyways.
Yeah.
It could be paintball gear. Anyways.
Speaking of doing stuff, we want to let everybody know what the results of our Saturday Night Live draft were. According to you, the listeners, our guest, John Schneider, did win that draft.
I disagree.
But
I got my one vote.
But he did get one vote.
That's all I said in the episode. I need to hear one other person thinks like me.
And you logged into your burner account and you cast that vote for yourself.
I definitely did not, because the rest of that comment was him complimenting the two of you. It's like, but I love Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
so
it did kind of feel like that person just kind of threw it away at the end. But hey, we appreciate any and all votes and listens. You can listen to this podcast on all platforms, and you can check us out on the social media that we choose to be on. At HowDoWeHuman.
We got that handle.
You can also send us an email if an Instagram comment or whatever doesn't feel like it's enough characters for you to talk to us, send us an email to howdowehumanpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. The
You
best part of that
can
handle is that it's
also
an email.
get ready to play along with our little trivia game. We had played to 100 points and I had won, and we've restarted, wiped the slate clean, and Evan got out to a solid start last week.
Mm-hmm.
The score currently is 4. That's how many Evan has. To 2,
Yeah.
which is how many I have.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to have as impressive of a performance today, Evan?
I think I can't be I think I can't be stopped. And I'll tell you why. I didn't realize this until I just looked at the calendar. Do you know what today is?
No.
And by today, I mean when people are listening to this.
Oh, is it your birthday?
It's my birthday.
Well,
happy birthday to me.
Birthday. For your gift, I'm going to either let you in or I'm going to give you the gift of heated competition. And I'll tell you which one it is after I answer the 5 questions.
Sounds good.
Question number 1, Evan.
Yes.
Orly Airport serves which European city? Lisbon,
one of us.
Frankfurt, Helsinki, or Paris?
Only one of us has flown out of the country.
Don't worry, it doesn't help me at all.
Orly.
I have a guess, and I don't know where it's coming from, but let me know when you have your answer.
I am between 2,
okay.
and weirdly feel confident if it's one of these 2.
Okay.
Fuck. Do I go first instinct, best thing? No.
First
Helsinki.
instinct, best think. You're going with best Helsinki?
Think. I'll go with Helsinki.
That's also what I'm going with.
My other guess was Lisbon.
It was Paris.
Worldly travelers, what is the single world? Good God, what is the single?
You got this. You can
Slow
do it.
down. What is the single word title of the famous novel by Alex Haley? Roots, Landing, Cold, or Obtuse?
I have my answer, and it's bad.
Have my answer.
Okay.
I know the answer. I'm 95% sure.
Okay. This really reflects more on me and my knowledge of books, because I've heard of one of these, and that's the one I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Roots.
And I think you're right. I believe it is Roots.
All right. That is correct. We both get that correct. Question number 3. Norma Jean Mortensen was the birth name of which movie star? Sandra Bullock, Jessica Alba, Marilyn Monroe, or Mila Kunis?
This is easy.
I feel like I know this
Got
one.
this.
Okay. Are we both going with the same answer?
I don't know.
I'm going with Marilyn Monroe.
It is Marilyn Monroe. And
Okay.
I didn't want to give you the whole time you were doing that. As soon as I see that name, I want to say, goodbye, Norma Jean. Oh, I never knew you. But I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy likes Elton John. I don't need to give him any tips.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought of the song as well, but I didn't connect the dots to a name. So
you didn't know that song's about Marilyn Monroe?
No.
Damn, listen to it again, baby.
Okay.
Or the Princess Diana version, which is not as good. The popular pet bird budgerigars? Budgerigars?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Originate in which country? That's a Budgerigars. Australia, Madagascar, Congo, or Thailand? I know an animal that has a similar name, and I know where that animal's from. So I'm going with that answer, but I've never heard of this.
I've never heard of this either. I'm going to go with Australia.
I'm also going Australia.
All right. Have we answered the same way for every single
possibly
question? All right. We did get that right, though.
So I assume it's the same bird. Budgies is what I've heard them
Yes,
called.
that
Which I understand, because I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it.
Yeah, the name of that bird just sounded
Budgies.
the best coming out of an Australian accent.
Yes.
The final question here, Evan. We've both gotten 3 points so far.
Yeah.
Voodoo beliefs are often practiced in which Caribbean island nation? Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Cuba, or Haiti?
I believe I know this.
I have an answer, but I also feel like it's practiced in 3 out of these 4. So maybe that's says more about me than voodoo beliefs themselves. My guess is Haiti, Evan.
I believe it is Haiti. Why? Every single one of these has been the same, where it's like, oh, at least the ones we got right. I know this. And then you're like, man, I don't fucking know. maybe that one. And you're also right.
I mean, look,
it's not fair.
I just try to make educated guesses. You know, I picked Helsinki because I thought that sounded... I thought Orly sounded Finnish enough to me.
I agree. But I should have remembered. It sounded familiar.
Evan,
anyways,
you brought us in
changed.
With music. Would you like to take us out with another special, spooky little song from your own heart?
Goodbye, Norma Jean.
An Evan Cox original.
Listening audience. Ghoulie, ghosts, and goblins, you all. We had enough of your shit. You can go about your lives. And it seems to me that okay, bye is the only words to say. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.